On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected.
Thank you to all our amazing channel members for your generous support.
He played men who argued, questioned, and refused silence, turning television characters into reflections of everyday frustration and conscience. Jack Klugman was born on April 27, 1922, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The son of Russian Jewish immigrants, he discovered acting while studying drama after serving in the U.S. Army during World War II, finding purpose on stage before fame ever followed. His rise to prominence came through television, where his presence felt immediate and human. In the early 1960s, he gained attention in serious dramas like The Defenders, earning critical respect for his emotional realism. Then came The Odd Couple in 1970. As the slovenly, explosive Oscar Madison opposite Tony Randall's neat Felix Unger, Jack Klugman became a household name. The role earned him multiple Emmy Awards and turned sharp dialogue into cultural memory. In the late 1970s, he reinvented himself again with Quincy, Emmy, portraying a medical examiner who challenged authority and fought for truth, transforming a procedural drama into a platform for social issues. Away from the spotlight, Jack Klugman's life carried its own struggles. In the 1980s, throat cancer robbed him of his voice, forcing him to relearn how to speak. Many believed his career was over. Instead, he returned to acting, even performing on stage with a raspy, altered voice, proving that resilience mattered more than perfection. Jack Klugman died on December 24, 2012. He was 90 years old. His death was caused by prostate cancer, and he passed away in Los Angeles, California, the city where much of his career had unfolded. The news of his passing was met with widespread respect. Actors, writers, and fans shared memories of his honesty on screen and kindness off it. Television networks replayed episodes of The Odd Couple and Quincy M.E., reminding audiences how deeply his work had shaped multiple generations. Today, Jack Klugman is remembered as one of television's most authentic performers. He brought intelligence to comedy and compassion to drama. His characters argued loudly, cared deeply, and stood up for ordinary people. In an era before anti-heroes became fashionable, he made flawed men relatable and moral without being preachy. Jack Klugman's legacy lives in every performance that dares to be human, imperfect, and brave enough to speak up, even when the voice trembles. She didn't just win tournaments, she quietly rewrote what dominance looked like in sports, swing by swing, record by record. Kathy Whitworth was born on September 27, 1939, in Monahans, Texas. Growing up in a small oil town, she discovered golf almost by accident, picking up clubs as a teenager and showing natural precision long before anyone imagined history in the making. Her rise to fame was relentless and unmatched. In 1962, Kathy Whitworth joined the LPGA Tour, and within a few short years, she was unstoppable. She won her first major championship in 1967 at the Western Open, a victory that confirmed her arrival among the elite. Over the next 2 decades, she captured an astonishing 88 LPGA Tour wins, more than any golfer, male or female, in professional history. She also served as the first woman to captain a professional golf tour, breaking leadership barriers while continuing to compete at the highest level. Consistency, discipline, and calm focus defined her game, even as records piled up. Away from leaderboards and trophies, Kathy Whitworth was intensely private. She avoided the spotlight, rarely chased endorsements, and preferred quiet routines over celebrity. Those close to her described her as thoughtful and deeply committed to the craft of golf, rather than fame. She once said she never played to make history. She played to get better, every day. Kathy Whitworth died on December 24, 2022. She was 83 years old. Her death was caused by complications following a stroke, and she passed away peacefully in Texas, the state that shaped her strength and humility. The reaction was immediate and reverent. Tributes poured in from across the sports world. Fellow golfers, commentators, and fans reflected on her unmatched achievements and quiet authority. Many called her the greatest winner the sport has ever known, even as her name had often remained outside mainstream headlines. Today, Kathy Whitworth's legacy stands taller than ever. Her record still endures. Her influence continues through generations of women who now see professional golf as a place of opportunity, leadership, and excellence. She proved that dominance does not need noise, and greatness does not need permission. Kathy Whitworth showed the world that true legends don't demand attention. They earn it, one perfect shot at a time. She twirled across movie screens as a child, then spent a lifetime reminding audiences that grace can linger long after the spotlight fades. Heather Menzies was born on December 3, 1949, in Toronto, Canada. Raised between Canada and the United States, she trained as a ballet dancer, a discipline that shaped her poise long before Hollywood ever called. Her rise to fame came suddenly and globally in 1965 with The Sound of Music. As Louisa Von Trapp, the spirited third oldest child, Heather Menzies became part of one of the most beloved films in cinema history. The movie won 5 Academy Awards and played endlessly across generations, embedding her face into popular culture. After that success, she continued acting through the late 1960s and 1970s, appearing in films like Hawaii, Sus, and Piranha. Though she never escaped the shadow of her childhood role, she carved out a steady career, balancing television and film during a changing era in Hollywood. Away from the screen, Heather Menzies chose a quieter, deeply personal path. She married actor Robert Urich in 1975, and their marriage became known for its rare stability in the entertainment world. After Urich's death in 2002, she dedicated much of her life to cancer awareness and philanthropy, transforming private grief into public purpose. She gradually stepped away from acting, finding meaning beyond fame. Heather Menzies died on December 24, 2017. She was 68 years old. Her death was caused by brain cancer, and she passed away in New York City, surrounded by loved ones during the holiday season that once symbolized joy for millions who grew up watching her sing and dance. The reaction was filled with warmth and nostalgia. Fans revisited The Sound of Music, sharing favorite scenes and childhood memories. Fellow actors and film historians spoke about her kindness, her quiet strength, and the unique experience of growing up inside a cinematic landmark. Tributes focused not on celebrity, but on the emotional imprint she left behind. Today, Heather Menzies is remembered as part of a film that became a tradition, a comfort and a shared language across generations. Yet her legacy reaches beyond one role. She represents the grace of child stardom without bitterness, and a life that evolved with dignity and compassion. Heather Menzies showed us that some performances never truly end because they live on in memory, music, and the quiet joy of remembering. His stare could stop time, his silence could thunder, and with one movement, he redefined what strength looked like on screen. Toshiro Mifune was born on April 1, 1920, in Qingdao, China, to Japanese parents. He originally trained as a photographer, not an actor, and was discovered almost by accident after World War II during a studio audition. His rise to fame is inseparable from Japanese cinema itself. In 1948, he caught attention in Drunken Angel, beginning a legendary collaboration with director Akira Kurosawa. Together, they created some of the most influential films in history. Rashomon introduced Mifune to the world and helped bring Japanese cinema to international audiences. Then came Seven Samurai, where his wild, unpredictable performance as Kikucho redefined the action hero. Later roles in Throne of Blood and Yojimbo cemented his image as a warrior who was both brutal and deeply human. His style influenced countless Western films, including the rise of the modern cowboy and action anti-hero. Behind the fierce roles, Mifune was known as disciplined and intensely private. He struggled with fame and often clashed with studio expectations. Though admired worldwide, his relationship with Kurosawa eventually fractured, a separation that quietly pained both men. Despite global offers, Mifune remained rooted in Japan, believing his identity and artistry belonged there. Toshiro Mifune died on December 24, 1997. He was 77 years old. His death was caused by multiple organ failure following years of declining health, and he passed away in Mitaka, Tokyo, not far from the studios where his legend was forged. The reaction was profound. Filmmakers, actors, and critics across the world paid tribute to a man who had changed cinema's visual language. Directors spoke of his physical intensity and emotional restraint. Fans revisited black and white frames that still felt alive, still felt dangerous. Japan mourned not just an actor, but a cultural icon. Today, Toshiro Mifune remains a towering presence in film history. His performances are studied in film schools, referenced in modern blockbusters, and echoed in characters who walk the line between chaos and honor. He showed that power could exist without words, and that vulnerability could hide beneath armor and anger. Toshiro Mifune did not simply act in films. He carved them into memory, leaving behind a legacy as sharp and enduring as a drawn blade. He survived war, reinvented himself late, and filled every role with humanity, proving it's never too late to leave a lasting mark. Charles Durning was born on February 28, 1923, in Highland Falls, New York. Raised in a working-class family, he left school early and later served in the U.S. Army during World War II, surviving the D-Day invasion despite being wounded multiple times. His rise to fame came later than most, but it came with force. After the war, Durning turned to acting, studying on stage and slowly building his craft. His breakthrough arrived in the early 1970s with Dog Day Afternoon, where his weary, compassionate police detective stood out in a film packed with intensity. Soon after, he appeared in The Sting, adding warmth and credibility to an already iconic cast. In 1982, his performance as a conflicted soap opera director in Tootsie earned him an Academy Award nomination, finally placing him in the spotlight as one of Hollywood's most dependable character actors. Behind the scenes, Charles Durning carried experiences far heavier than most of his roles. He rarely spoke about his wartime trauma, including his near-death experience in Normandy, but those who knew him believed it shaped the empathy he brought to every performance. Despite playing authority figures, villains, and mentors, he was known as gentle, humorous, and deeply respectful of younger actors. Charles Durning died on December 24, 2012. He was 89 years old. His death was due to natural causes, and he passed away peacefully at his home in Manhattan, New York, the city that had shaped both his struggles and his success. The reaction was filled with gratitude rather than shock. Fellow actors praised his professionalism and kindness. Directors remembered him as the kind of performer who elevated every scene without demanding attention. Fans revisited his films and television appearances, often surprised by how many beloved moments he had quietly been part of. Today, Charles Durning is remembered as one of cinema's great supporting pillars. He represented authenticity, resilience, and emotional truth. His career proved that greatness doesn't require leading roles, only honesty and commitment. From war survivor to award-winning actor, his life reflected endurance in its purest form. Charles Durning reminded us that even those who stand just outside the spotlight can leave the deepest, most enduring impressions of all. He carried romance in his voice and sorrow in his eyes, becoming the kind of leading man audiences trusted with their hearts. Rossano Brazzi was born on September 18, 1916, in Bologna, Italy. Originally trained as a lawyer, he only turned to acting after discovering that the stage offered him something the courtroom never could: emotional truth. His rise to international fame came after World War II, as Italian cinema began reaching global audiences. In the late 1940s, his refined presence and expressive restraint set him apart. Hollywood soon followed. In 1951, he became a worldwide star with 3 coins in the fountain, playing a romantic Italian gentleman who embodied elegance and longing. The role made him an instant symbol of old-world charm. He continued this success with Summertime opposite Katharine Hepburn, delivering a tender performance that balanced romance with quiet heartbreak. Brazzi moved effortlessly between European films and major Hollywood productions, becoming one of the few actors of his era to truly bridge both worlds. Away from the screen, Rossano Brazzi was far more complex than the suave characters he portrayed. He was introspective, deeply Catholic, and often uneasy with fame. Though admired as a romantic icon, he preferred solitude and literature, once admitting that public attention felt heavier than any dramatic role. His private life included emotional highs and painful losses, experiences that subtly deepened his performances. Rossano Brazzi died on December 24, 1994. He was 78 years old. His death was caused by complications from viral hepatitis, and he passed away in Rome, Italy, during the quiet hours of Christmas Eve. The city that had symbolized beauty and history for his films became the place of his final goodbye. The news of his death resonated strongly in both Europe and the United States. Film critics and fans reflected on a career built on sincerity rather than spectacle. Television networks revisited his classic films, and tributes emphasized his ability to convey longing with just a look or a pause. He was remembered not for scandal, but for grace. Today, Rossano Brazzi remains a symbol of a vanished cinematic era. His performances remind us of a time when romance was spoken softly and emotions unfolded slowly. He represented dignity, restraint, and emotional intelligence on screen, qualities that still feel rare and valuable. Rossano Brazzi showed us that true romance is not about grand gestures, but about presence, sincerity, and the quiet courage to feel deeply. She stepped into Hollywood with intelligence and elegance, then walked away quietly, leaving behind a brief career filled with promise and mystery. Julie Hayden was born Donata Jansen on April 10, 1910, in Oak Park, Illinois. Exceptionally bright from a young age, she skipped grades in school and was already studying philosophy and literature when most future actresses were still dreaming. Her rise to fame came first through the theater. In the early 1930s, she earned acclaim on Broadway, where her sharp mind and composed presence set her apart. Hollywood soon took notice, She signed with MGM and appeared in films like Mad About Music in 1938, starring opposite Deanna Durbin, and later The Spirit of Culver and Adam. Had 4 sons. Though never promoted as a glamorous starlet, Julie Hayden built a reputation for quiet intelligence and emotional restraint, qualities that gave her performances unusual depth during Hollywood's golden age. Yet fame never truly suited her. Unlike many of her peers, Julie Hayden grew disillusioned with the film industry. She gradually stepped away from acting, choosing instead to focus on writing and education. She published essays, taught classes, and embraced a more private intellectual life. Friends described her as thoughtful, introspective, and often conflicted about the compromises demanded by stardom. Julie Hayden died on December 24, 1959. She was just 49 years old. Her death was caused by carbon monoxide poisoning, and it occurred in her home in Los Angeles, California. Authorities ruled her death a suicide, a tragic end that shocked those who knew her and saddened those who remembered her early promise. The reaction was subdued but deeply reflective. There were no grand Hollywood memorials, yet newspapers and colleagues spoke of a woman whose talent had never been fully realized. Many noted the contrast between her intellect and the narrow roles available to her at the time. Her passing became another quiet reminder of the emotional toll the industry could take, especially on those who questioned it. Today, Julie Hayden is remembered as a symbol of what might have been. Film historians revisit her work as an example of understated strength, while her decision to walk away from fame is seen as quietly radical. She represents artists who value integrity over applause and who choose their inner lives over public approval. Julie Hayden's story lingers not because of how loudly she lived, but because of how thoughtfully she stepped away, leaving behind a silence that still invites reflection.